In fact, I've like tried really hard to be attracted to men who like treat me well.
It's boring.
It's not only boring, but it makes me feel uncomfortable.
You're a victim.
Here we go, CSI.
What he calls the penny analogy. That if you put a penny in a jar for every time you had sex before you got married, and then you took a penny after you got married, you took a penny out for every time you have sex once you're married, you would never empty the jar. And that's the sad reality of sex with your wife, is that she used sex to get married. And once she trapped you, there was no reason for sex anymore. The sad fact is that...
Sorry, not just to trap you, but the other reason for sex is when she wants to try for children, when she wants to have a baby. Then you're going to see that sex drive go up. But again, it's an ends to mean to what she wants, what she can get out of it. And then she kills her sex drive towards you. She may have, this is why you see the market for toys for women exploding, and why a lot of women are actually addicted or use porn and toys to pleasure themselves rather than be intimate with their husband. There's a reason why the toy industry is a $1 billion market. And it's not because it's all these toys for men, but right now, this is where they're seeing the majority of women. It's about self-pleasure, self-indulgence. It's about that. And they have the nerve to be mad at their husband because he's watching porn. Meanwhile, she could care less about his sexual needs and want him to just suffer in silence because he loves her. Get out of here.
Good man, or after a woman marries a good man, all he's good for is being a sperm donor and for financial security. And all the facade of being into you, of being passionate about you, of loving you, and can't wait to get together to be with you. That facade drops because we got what we wanted. And for most of us as women, when we become disinterested in sex and we stop having sex, we will hold on enough to string you along. So that's where we'll have sex once a month or twice a month, and we'll string you along for that financial security and or for...
If even that, there's a lot of men who have gone months and months and even years. I have stories of men, telling me they've got one man over 2 decades without any sex with his wife. Now, granted, they're older now, but it started with, the slowdown. And then once he's completely trapped after years of marriage, and it's a slow burn of castration for married men. And they learn to just kind of live in it, because a lot of these men, they're not divorcing or they're being loyal to their wives because these are good men. These are strong men. These are men who believe in their vows, for better or for worse. These are men who are loyal. They're going to stand by their woman for, through the good and the bad, even though they say men are disloyal, men cheat, men are this way and men are that way. I see men are loyal to a fault. Men will die on a hill for what they believe in, and to stick to their word and to stay with what they said, especially men of character and honor and integrity. And the majority of men are that way. No matter what you're hearing, that is what I've seen. Just look at how loyal men are to their sports teams. Women will jump from team to team like, I'm that way. So they would jump who's the best lately. But men will pick a team when they're young and just die on that hill. And I can never understand. I'm like, why don't you just switch teams? They're not good anymore. They haven't been good in 30 years. Please just switch, and then you could be happy. But they will stay in frustration trying to fix it, because men are problem solvers. And if they can't solve the problem, a lot of times they would get stuck in something. Are there some men who step outside of their marriage because in these situations? Yes. But I actually don't fault them. I don't blame them. The wife left the marriage first. Just because it's not legal or it's not on paper, this woman is not fulfilled her duty as a wife. And it is akin to abandoning the marriage and abandoning that man. So it is what it is, sis. You can't get mad.
Having children. And that was sadly my experience, that when my husband and I met, sex was great. I had plenty of it. I enjoyed it. He enjoyed it. We had fun together. And then once I knew I had him, the switch turned off. I put walls up. I didn't want to get undressed around him anymore. If he came in and he tried to hug me, I would jerk away. And I had all kinds of stories built up about why I was doing this. I denied to myself the real reasons why, which is what most of us as women do. And there was nothing he was going to be able to do to turn that switch back on. And I didn't withdraw it or withhold it completely, but we would have it maybe every other week. And women listening who are open-minded and want to know these things for yourself, you'll know that we have this mental calendar where it's like, okay, I had it. And then we are like, okay, that'll probably buy me a week or two. And then that time starts running out and we start building this anxiety of when we're going to need to engage with sex again to give just enough to make it seem okay and just enough to keep getting what we want. But by that point, our switch is off and the switch never goes back on. And we let our stories and our games begin of why we don't want to have sex anymore. And the sad part is that a good man falls for all those stories and all those excuses of why we don't want to have sex anymore. And I had a myriad of them. And it's fascinating how those stories begin, where in the beginning, we're having fun, we enjoy it. It's not an issue in the beginning of the relationship. And then all of a sudden it's, well, it's my past with men before I met you, or it was my relationship with my dad, or I have really low self-esteem and I don't really know what I like. And just all these stories start coming up out of nowhere. And the sad part is because good men want to believe their wives, they see the good in us, is then they fall for these stories. Or the story of, well, I've changed and I need you to meet me in a different place now. I need you to start doing this technique or that technique, or can we read this book together? I've changed and I need it to sex to look different now. And good men will fall for that. That's where I went. And I've shared a little bit about that in the last couple of videos where I had my husband reading all these books with me. We went to couples counseling and I made it this giant ordeal in our relationship. And it was really confusing to him. And he would try to do all the things because he's a good man. And that's what you do. Tell me what to do. I'll do it. So he tried to do the different things that I said that I needed. And you'll see women in comments of some of these videos from other men telling men, here's what you need to do to get your wife to re-engage with sex and turn your game back on. And you gotta, and all these things. And women will comment on the videos like, yes, I wish my husband knew this. But the truth is, and we all know it, ladies, is that if they do those things, it still doesn't make us happy. And we're still pointing the finger and you're not doing it right. And well, I didn't mean it like that. And oh no, maybe that's not what I want.
Message.
The secret we never wanted revealed as women is that as women, we have a switch, like a light switch with sex. And it is either off or it is on. And we all know we have this switch and that we have the capacity and the choice to turn it on and off when we want to. And as women, when we were single, we had the switch on for bad boys and we had the switch off for good men until we were ready to settle down and get married and start a family. And so good men can know if you struggled to get women when you were younger and before you were married, or if you're watching and you're single, this will shed some light for you too. If you didn't have a lot of women until you met your wife, it's because she had her switched off. And then when she was ready to settle down, she turned it on and she used the on switch with sex to trap you to get what she wanted, which was to get married. And so when we're ready to get married, our biological clock is ticking. We get a good man and we enjoy sex. We want to have plenty of sex. And then we get what we want. We get married and the sex stops.